Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Steel City Sports Report, where we talk everything Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates. I am your host, Brady Vini, and what a wonderful, beautiful day it is in the neighborhood, that neighborhood being the city of Pittsburgh and their sports teams. Since we last met in this fashion, it was Monday night. You had the NFL league meetings ongoing. You had the Pittsburgh Penguins going into their biggest two games of the season, pretty much fighting for their playoff lives. And you had the Pittsburgh Pirates coming off of losing 2 out of 3 games in their opening series to the New York Mets, kicking off a very important series number 2 of the season against a division rival and the Cincinnati Reds. And just in case you can't tell by my joyous tone, pretty much all of those things went splendidly well. The Penguins now, we're going to talk about them, start off the show with them here in a few moments. Not only did they increase their odds immensely to make the playoffs, they did so in flying colors, looking, I wouldn't say like world beaters, but looking like they could be a team that legitimately makes noise in the playoffs, not just, one of those teams that gets in and nobody has any sort of high expectations for. As for the Pittsburgh Pirates, we'll talk about them, I think, after the Penguins. I forget which way I ordered or layered out the show here today, but the Pirates, going to talk about them as well. They kicking off that game, that series with the Reds back on Monday. That series is now complete. They played on Monday night, they played on Tuesday night, and they played this afternoon. 2 of those 3 games went very, very well for the Bucs. We'll talk about them and all their success that they have found lately. And then we'll talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and all the news surrounding them, mainly at the NFL league meetings in Arizona. I think those just wrapped up today. We heard from Steelers head coach Mike McCarthy again, a tiny bit from Steelers general manager Omar Khan, and Steelers owner Art Rooney II, all they had to say before the NFL draft. We are now into draft month, ladies and gentlemen. All eyes quickly focusing on the city of Pittsburgh and the excitement that the draft holds in the not-too-distant future. So much to talk about here on this Wednesday evening. Tons about the Penguins, tons about the Pirates, a good bit about the Steelers as well. But before we get into all the fun and actually have a happy-go-lucky live stream here tonight, if you are new here, welcome to the Steel City Sports Report. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you never miss a live stream or video on this channel ever again. Also, on this live stream that you are currently watching right now, please hit that like button. Really helps a lot. Hit that share button so we can keep the viewership growing here on the channel. That helps as well. And in the comment section, if you have any thoughts, questions, or opinions on your mind this evening about anything regarding Pittsburgh sports, please don't hesitate to put those thoughts in the comment section. I can pop up those comments on screen just like this at a moment's notice, and we can interact that way. Also, would appreciate it if you go check out the channel at Steel City SR on Facebook, Instagram, and X, and tune back in a little bit later on tonight for a new edition of SCSR 60. Back to that comment section we go here for a moment. Concepts chiming in here. Welcome, Concepts. Super Bowl, here we come, talking about the Steelers. Big Steeler fan Concepts is here on the channel. I'll tell you what, Concepts, hearing that a certain quarterback in this year's draft class is going to be visiting the Steelers in a not-too-distant future, that really gets me excited. And the draft overall, it's a season, the NFL draft, it's a season of looking ahead to the future and, realizing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, no matter where you are or your team is at in their franchise's history right now. So very much looking forward ahead of the draft. Concepts in here. Hope everybody is doing well today as well. I see Concepts in here, a comment about the referees. I do have a tiny bit to say on the NFL officiating, but not a whole much. I'm not going to act like I'm super knowledgeable in what's going on in that hemisphere right now, but it is a very exciting time with the draft now coming up later this month. 22 days away from the NFL draft on the North Shore, of Pittsburgh. Here's Jonathan Harvey again. Welcome, Jonathan. The Penguins made smart decisions to hire Dan Muse, move on from Sully. Penguins have a shot at Lord Stanley's Cup, and the Pirates are wait and see, but they're showing positives in the series with the Reds. Indeed, Jonathan, 100%. Kyle Dubas, we'll give him his flowers again after we're done talking about these last two Penguins games here in a moment. He pushing all the right buttons. And as good as, some of these new acquisitions that Kyle Dubas brought in, made as good as they're playing right now, probably the best move that he made, and we can't lose sight of it. Dan Muse, the new voice, new fresh ideas he brought to the team, getting some development out of some young players, keeping the core and some of these new guys coming in, get them invested, all that. Dan Muse has done one hell of a job. He and Kyle Dubas. I'm a little shocked, actually. I think I saw Dan Muse not in the top two for Jack Adams award voting for top NHL head coach. I believe the two coaches in the lead right now is Lindy Ruff with the Buffalo Sabres, which I understand that. Buffalo Sabres, they are pretty much the consummate hellhole of hockey, not being in the playoffs since in the previous 12 years. I think Buffalo, if they win their game tonight against the Ottawa Senators, they get into the playoffs and snap that 12-year playoff-less streak. And then the other guy, do we really need to see this guy be in consideration for Coach of the Year again? John Cooper, Tampa Bay Lightning head coach. Dude's been there, done that. I think Jack Adams Award for head coaches should be an award for the coach that gets the most out of a team that didn't have any, high expectations. I like to think John Cooper and the Tampa Bay Lightning had pretty high expectations coming into the season. Meanwhile, teams like the Buffalo Sabres and your Pittsburgh Penguins, literally not that many high expectations coming into the season. You were just hoping that, hey, they don't get embarrassed. It's probably going to be a tank year going for Gavin McKenna and the draft lottery. But now, complete and total 180, we're looking and we're hunting for that one last Stanley Cup championship ring for the Penguins core players before they head off into retirement here in the next few years. But hopefully more than that if they keep playing the way that they are playing. With that, in that comment, Jonathan, let's get right into it. Like I said, we're going to start with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Since we were last live for a news stream just like this, the Penguins scuffling a little bit. They had two ugly losses against two elite teams in the Colorado Avalanche and Carolina Hurricanes. They also lost on Saturday over the weekend to the Dallas Stars, another top team. They had a big win against the Ottawa Senators mixed in there as well. But heading into Monday night, that slate of badness heading into Monday night's game and Tuesday night's game could have been wiped clean with good performances. And by God, the Penguins did that. Let's start with Monday night. Penguins on the island in Flushing, or no, not Flushing, Queens. No, Long Island, New York. What am I saying here? They were taking on the Islanders. The Penguins heading into Monday night's game, I believe they were sitting somewhere around 70% to make the playoffs. They could have boosted their odds up past 80% with a regulation win against the New York Islanders, and they got a massive reinforcement back. On contrary to what they had in their weekend game against the Dallas Stars, Sidney Crosby, only missing one game, returned to the Penguins lineup. Crosby, in his career against the Islanders, 140 points heading into Monday night's game. That is the most by any active player against any one team. So Crosby coming back against the Islanders, a team that he, quite frankly, owns. That was huge for the Pens. They did some lineup shuffling, too, very interesting. Crosby came back into the lineup. They put Igor Chinakhov up on the top line with Crosby and Rust. They left Ricard Raquel at center with Anthony Mantha and Justin Brazeau. Thought that was pretty interesting right there. But, hey, it worked out, and it worked out pretty well. On into the game here. Choppy start for the Penguins. They were really shaky, in their own end of the ice. No surprise with all the lineup movement. They needed a little bit of time to gel. There were a couple posts hit in the first period, but no score after 20 minutes of play. In the second period, Penguins took a minute and change of a power play into the second frame, but with 20 seconds left, they ended up taking a penalty. The Islanders, after those 20 seconds of 4-on-4 hockey was up, they went on the power play. Anders Lee, who has turned into a pretty big Penguins killer since the exit of Jordan Eberle a few years ago, he made it 1-0 Islanders. Before you can even blink, here comes Matt Barzal down the right side. He roofs one on Arturs Shilovs to make it 2-0. This line right here for the Penguins, they have not only been a tone setter line, but they have been a line that has put out the fire, per se, on multiple occasions for the Penguins this year. Down 2-0, Penguins on their heels. What line does Dan Muse send over the boards? The fourth line. Recently, Elmer Soderblom, Connor Dewar, and Noel Acciari. Still sucks there's no Blake Lizotte. More on that here in a minute. But the fourth line, they have been a group that has gone out there, shifted the momentum of the game, hemmed the opposition in the offense, in the Penguins' offensive zone, hemming the opposition back in their own end of the ice. Not many fourth lines, you could say, that they can do that across the NHL. So very impressive there. Monster shift from them. They actually score a goal. Elmer Soderblom buries one for the Penguins to cut the deficit to 2-1. The Islanders ended up regaining a 2-goal lead. They scored off of a rush with about half the second period remaining. Since that goal to make it 3-1 for the Islanders, that meme where it's the guy, he's sitting there playing a video game. He's got the controller. He's sort of leaning back a little bit, and then he leans forward, puts his elbows on his knees, truly locks in. That was the Pittsburgh Penguins in that game against the Islanders. After that, an unstoppable offensive barrage from the black and gold. Ricard Raquel ends up stealing the puck on another penalty kill for the Penguins. Raquel getting some PK time. He goes the other way, gives it to Brian Rust. Rust back to Raquel in front. He chips it home, makes it 3-2. Not too many shorthanded goals over the past month or so for the Penguins. So that was really a positive sign to see. They then, after they killed off the penalty, went to work in the Islanders zone. Anthony Mantha behind the net sends it up the boards. Ryan Shea, clap bomb from the boards, goes off the crossbar and in. That tied up the game at 3-3. And then Mantha, who assisted on that goal said, hey, why don't I get in on the scoring party myself? Mantha, beautiful chip ahead from Justin Brazeau, goes on a breakaway. Classic Anthony Mantha move. He scored multiple times with this move this season. And hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it for Ant-Man. Forehand, backhand, slides at 5-hole on Ilya Sorokin. Mo then got the puck back again. Mantha, another pass from Brazeau across the offensive zone. Similar thing. Forehand, backhand, goes in on Sorokin. The Penguins end the second period scoring 5 unanswered goals. And they scored both teams 8 goals in the second period. Nothing after one, and then an 8-goal explosion in the second. Absolutely insane hockey. Mantha at that point, too, with his 2 goals, he then became the team leader in goals for the Penguins with 29. Since 2005 and 2006, only 2 players have scored more goals for the Penguins in their first season with the team than Mantha. I'll give you a few seconds to guess as to who that is. It's only, the greatest Canadian hockey player of this generation and one of the greatest Russian players of this generation as well in their rookie seasons. So very, very impressive there from Anthony Mantha. And remember, 1-year deal for Anthony Mantha, I think $1 million coming off of an ACL tear. He is going to make a ton of cheddar in the offseason. We'll see if that winds up being the Penguins or not. Third period, Islanders scrambling. They tried to, get some sort of mojo going with a fight for Scott Mayfield. He ends up picking only 6'8" Elmer Soderblom to fight. Mayfield, their tough guy, just gets ragdolled and the ever-living crap beat out of him by Soderblom. Didn't know he had that in his game as a skill guy. After that, Islanders got no juice from that fight. Penguins just kept on rubbing salt in the wound, kept on pouring it on. Ben Kindle puts one in front from behind the net. Avery Hayes slaps it in. Ricard Raquel, he gets a rebound goal off of a Justin Brazeau shot. And then Brian Rust to end it all. One last goal he ends up scoring. And on that Brian Rust goal, Sidney Crosby recording 1,100 career assists. He now, with that assist, not sure where he is in NHL history with that assist mark, but very impressive from Sid. That brought him within 2 points of passing Steve Yzerman for the NHL's all-time point scoring list. And that game on Long Island from Monday, another multi-point game for Sid. He is now just third in NHL history for multi-point games behind Jaromir Jagr and Wayne Gretzky. Final score, 8-3. The Penguins jump back in front of the Islanders for second place of the division on a belt to absolute bare ass against the Islanders. I thought, heading into that game Monday night, it was going to be fairly close because the Islanders, they always play a tough, gritty game, and the Penguins haven't had that much success in big games on Long Island over the past few years, especially going back to their last handful of playoff series. So that was a very pleasant, unexpected surprise there for the Penguins. 8-3, they beat the Islanders. But hey, no rest for the weary, and the Penguins, they went right back to work the following night. The Penguins taking on the Detroit Red Wings, another team that is hunting for a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. I believe the Red Wings, they were heading into last night on the outside looking in when it comes to a wild card picture. So the Pens and Red Wings back at PPG. You were expecting another hard-fought game to come. Didn't really turn out to be all that hard-fought, to say the least. Kind of like the New York Islanders game. Pretty unexpected, one-sided affair. Evgeny Malkin really helped the Pens. He came back into the lineup after his upper body injury. Unfortunately, though, kind of, typical Penguins fashion here. When you get something, you have to give something up as well. Brian Rust, an unexpected scratch from the lineup last night with a lower body injury. Lines got thrown into a blender. Ricard Raquel ended up going back with Sidney Crosby. Tommy Novak was back playing center, and Avery Hayes was back in the lineup one more time. Ricard Raquel, he opened up the scoring for the Pens not too long into the hockey game. Gets the puck in the high slot, an absolute laser from the top of the circle. Rickard Rakell, he is not to be a man lost in all the hype and production of some other players around him. Rakell has really turned it on over the past few weeks here, and that's been huge with Malkin and Crosby missing some time. So Rakell, he makes it 1-0. Rakell now 13 of his last 14 games. He has points in. That is 9 goals and 9 assists in those previous 13 games for Rakell. Excellent stuff from him. Of course, making it 2-0 for the Pens. Who else? Anthony Mantha against his old team. Scramble in front of the net. Mantha digs the puck out, flicks it over the goaltender into the net to make it 2-0 Pens. That is goal number 30 on the year for Anthony Mantha. He is the 9th player to score 30 goals in the Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin era since the 06-07 season. He joins Crosby, who has done it 12 times, Evgeny Malkin, who's done it 6 times, Jake Gensel, who's done it 3 times, and then the rest of the guys with single 30-goal seasons with the Pens. Rakell, Rust, Phil Kessel, Chris Kunitz, and the real deal James Neal. So Mantha putting himself into some elite and historic Penguins company with his 30-goal campaign this season. Again, going to get paid in the offseason. Down 2-0. Kind of similar to what the Islanders tried doing in the third period on Monday night. The Red Wings thought the best way for them to get some juice and some mojo back in the hockey game was to drop the gloves. Connor Dewar, he ends up fighting Jacob Bernard Docker, and kind of like the Soderblom Mayfield fight from 24 hours prior, Dewar just works over Bernard Docker. Pretty one-sided fight right there. Apparently those two met up last year too when Bernard Docker was on the Sabres. He had a sketchy hit on Dewar in that game, and Dewar took exception. So those two have history. That fight, just like Mayfield and the Islanders, that fight from Bernard Docker did nothing for the Red Wings. Igor Chinikov, a few moments later, comes down left circle, top of the left circle, rips one thunderbolt wrister past John Gibson, 5-hole, 3-0 Penguins after one. It was heading for another good night for the Penguins. The Red Wings, they ended up pulling Pittsburgh native John Gibson in his return home. Cam Talbot took over in net for the rest of the game for the Red Wings. The Wings did get some help from the officials. Anthony Mantha got nabbed with a holding minor, and the Red Wings, they scored, I think, like 5 seconds. Not really. They scored like 5 seconds into their power play. Face-off win. Patrick Kane walks down in. Dylan Larkin buries the rebound. 3-1. The Penguins now in their last 6 consecutive games have at least given up 1 goal on the penalty kill. So I mentioned Blake Lizotte a few moments ago. Lizotte very much missed for the Penguins. Not just his capabilities in the face-off dot, but also his penalty killing prowess, because the PK, it is leaking right now. Out of all the good things the Penguins are doing right now collectively as a team, the penalty kill is far and away the worst thing they are doing right now. After that, the Red Wings made it 3-1. Later in the period, Justin Brazeau ends up tipping home a shot to make it 4-1 from Connor Clifton. That ended up holding up as the score for the second period. Third period, Pens went into shutdown mode. More specifically, Stuart Skinner went into shutdown mode. And right now, I think you got 8 games, 7 games, something like that, left in the season if you're the Penguins. Playoffs right around the corner. You want a goaltender to go out there and take the reins, especially in a 2-goaltender tandem the Pens have been running with all season with Shelovs and Skinner, before Skinner Jari. You, at this moment in the season, really need a goaltender to take the bull by the horns and be that guy heading into playoffs. Stu Skinner may have done that with his third period last night. Red Wings, really desperate, fighting for their playoff lives. They made a strong push offensively, and Skinner shut the door, massive pad save on Alex DeBrincat. There was another sequence where the Red Wings got like 2 or 3 good whacks at the net. Skinner stood tall then. Absolutely incredible period from Stu. Really, really impressive stuff from him, showing that he can be that guy, and he's, inching further and further away from the goaltender he was in Edmonton. The Connor Dewar line, they ended up, having one last strong shift in the game. Noel Acciari gets the goal. 5-1, the final score last night for your Pittsburgh Penguins. They beat the Islanders on Long Island 8-3. They turn around less than 24 hours later, take down the Detroit Red Wings 5-1. Absolutely impressive. And that's not even a strong enough adjective for the Penguins in their play over the past 2 days. They all of a sudden went from a 70% chance to make the playoffs to now, according to, I believe, puckmedia.com, a 91.8% chance to make the playoffs. A massive 21, almost 22 point swing in percentage to make the playoffs. How can you not be excited? How can you not love this Penguins team? And also those odds, by the way, that 91.8% chance to make the playoffs, those odds probably better than what I'm actually seeing here, because the Pens, every other game in the NHL last night that, they were focused on went their way. The Columbus Blue Jackets, they at home taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. Third period collapse. They lose 5-2. The Islanders, just like the Penguins, had to turn around and play a game the following night. Buffalo Sabres, they win that game 4-3. The Ottawa Senators, they got boat raced by the Florida Panthers 6-3. It was 5-0 Florida after one period of play. And also the Philadelphia Flyers. Remember back here on Monday, I said the Flyers creeping up in the rearview mirror for the Penguins could be a possible first-round matchup if the Pens make the playoffs. They go into Washington last night. They fall to the Capitals 6-4. So literally every other team, except for, maybe the Boston Bruins, but I think they're running away with the first wild card spot, so it doesn't really matter. And literally every other team last night that the Penguins, just to, help their odds even further, needed to lose, all of them lost. And the Penguins, a 4-point party over the last 48 hours. Impressive stuff from the Penguins. And they, I don't want to say guaranteed locks yet to go back to the playoffs, but damn it if they are not knocking on the door ready to bust that thing in like they're a damn SWAT team. Impressive stuff. Crazy still. I saw this graphic today. The Penguins, to start the season, a 7.6% chance to make the playoffs. Now you look, they're hovering around 95% to make the playoffs. What a crazy, unforeseen season for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And you just can't help but smile. And I told you I was going to come back and give this guy his flowers. Shout out Dan Muse. Excellent season. First season behind the bench for him as the Pens head coach. But let's not forget the man that has orchestrated this season to this point. Kyle Dubas, you are a godsend on the Pittsburgh Penguins organization. Dubas came in here, 3 years ago? Turned the Penguins around in a rebuild that I think it's safe to say we're at the end of the rebuild, right? Still we've got a ton of draft picks, and the prospect pipeline has been replenished here a little bit. But for Kyle Dubas to organize this winning team, rebuild on the fly, and continue to keep on winning, very impressive stuff from him. And he has, like I said, pushed all the right buttons. Hires Dan Muse, who brings along and helps develop guys like Ben Kindle. What a story he has been. Also saw some development from young guys that have come in here. Igor Chinikov, young guy, 15 goals, or 15 of his 18 goals this season are with the Penguins. Justin Brazeau, another newcomer that Kyle Dubas signed in free agency, 17 goals. And then some other guys Dubas has brought in. Anthony Mantha, 30 goal scorer. Parker Wotherspoon, the most defensively sound D-man on the Pens back end, plus 17 on the blue line. Stuart Skinner brought in, finding some form, really coming into his own here at the most important time of the season, heading into playoffs. Artur Shilovs, he's been excellent as well, but I think he's losing in that race right now. And then the core guys on top of it, they are just performing at an unexpected level for their age right now. And also Dubas dumping Tristan Jarry's contract for some pretty pennies. That's not, that's not to be lost in this shuffle either. So excellent last 48 hours for the Pens. They wrap up this impressive or critical, very, very critical 2-game stretch against the Islanders and Red Wings with 4 points. And the two opponents, they get 0 points. Crazy good work done by the Penguins. They are well on their way to the playoffs, and they seem to be firing not on all cylinders, but on most cylinders right now. We'll see if they can keep it up. The Penguins made a few roster moves today as well. Caleb Jones, defenseman, not sure many of us remember him from early on in the season, got injured, then got suspended 20 games for some sort of a substance issue. He is now reinstated. Wonder if he's going to get sent down to the AHL or maybe help out on the current Penguins defense at all. We'll have to wait and see. Rutger McGroarty, Ville Koivunen, they went down to the AHL and I think are now back with the NHL team. Must be just a paper transaction move right there. And the Penguins, excellent stuff from them. They now, the Pens, are going to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning coming up tomorrow night, and then into a weekend series with the reigning defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, who are not all that good, to say the least, this season. More on them here in a little bit in the extra Pittsburgh sports news. But the Penguins, 4 points in 2 big games. They boost their odds to 95% to make the playoffs, a 95% chance, and getting excited, getting giddy. Could be on here a whole lot coming up in the next few weeks for Penguins playoff game day live streams. 7 of you in here right now, as we are a little over half an hour into the show this evening. I want to go to the comment section here for a second. You guys lighting up the comment section during that first segment of the program. I appreciate it. Please keep that up. Got some Steeler comments in here. We'll get to those in a moment here. Penn's just posted, Mantha and his wife had a baby girl today. Now the dad powers are going to kick in. He'll be unstoppable. I did see that. I was going to save that for the extra Pittsburgh sports news, but I believe Estelle is the name of the baby. Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about Mantha, 30 goals, looking like the Mantha of Detroit Red Wings days, not the Anthony Mantha, whatever the hell he was with the Calgary Flames last year. Already, everything he's touching turns to gold, and now he's going to have dad superpowers on top of it. I mean, move aside Erik Karlsson and Sidney Crosby. Number 39 is now going to be the best player on the Penguins heading into the postseason here. Going here. Some other comments here. Flacco hopping in here. Jonathan Harvey, Concepts, some more comments as well. Great stuff from you guys here. Concepts here, a good question. The real question about the refs, do they suck at their jobs or do they get paid to suck? I mean, you're probably talking about the NFL officiating their Concepts. Same could be applied to the NHL officiating. Oddly enough, 2 most important games of the season, going back the last 2 nights for the Penguins, the referees not really screwing the Penguins in those games. Knock on wood, hoping that continues. But kind of crazy that we just talked about 2 Penguins games and not a single mention of the stripes out there and any controversial calls against the Pens. So that is pretty impressive right there. Moving over now, ladies and gentlemen, want to get through this one segment, and then I promise football talk is ahead with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Want to switch gears from the ice rink to the baseball diamond. The Penguins the past 2 days. They're having a ball winning and blowing out the competition. The Pittsburgh Pirates, they saw that and they say, hey, we want to try and do that too. And for 2/3 of their series with the Cincinnati Reds, they really, really did it. And they got us all hyped up heading into the home opener coming up on Friday. After taking, or I should say, after losing 2 of 3 games in the season opening series with the New York Mets, the Pirates, since we last spoke on Monday night, they opened up a 3-game set with National League Central Division rival Cincinnati Reds. On Monday, the Bucs putting out there a pretty normal lineup. I think it was the same lineup that they had for opening day against the Mets. Braxton Ashcraft was on the mound for the Bucs against Chase Burns. And then the last 2 games of the series, Bubba Chandler versus Brandon Williamson last night. Paul Skeens today pitched against Andrew Abbott, who's more or less developed into the Reds' number 1 with Hunter Green not in their rotation. On to the game from Monday night. This was the stinker of the series for the Pirates. They were no hit by Chase Burns, young phenom pitcher for the Reds, through 4 innings. And then I think Spencer Horwitz ended up breaking up the no-hitter a little bit later on in the 5th inning. Henry Davis, he and the pitching staff, they tried their damnedest with the Bucs bats struggling to keep the game at 0-0. Davis, a very impressive throwout of Ellie De La Cruz, who is one of the more dangerous base-stealing threats in the entire MLB. Unfortunately, Davis, the pitching staff, they could only do so much. Double in the bottom of the 4th off of Braxton Ashcraft, scored 2 runs. That was down the right field line and just hit fair. So the Reds took a 2-0 lead. Ashcraft, a interesting stat line for him. 6 innings pitched, only gave up 4 hits and 2 runs. Struck out 3, but walked 4 on 87 pitches. It's technically a quality start, but I'm sure he really, really wants to lower those walks a good bit. Justin Lawrence came in out of the pen through a very impressive 8th inning, as did all the other relievers that the Bucs threw on Monday, but the bats just could not do a damn thing. They lost 2-0, got shut out by the Reds in game 1 of the series, and the Pirates last year, they were shut out a major league worst 16 times, and it only took them 4 games into the 2026 season to get shut out once again. And heading into, or I should say after Monday night's game, Brandon Lau, Ryan O'Hearn, literally the only guys on this team who were worth a crap offensively. Lau and O'Hearn, through the first 4 games of the season, they were a combined 13 for 30. Literally every other batter on the Pirates roster was 20 for 144 for a 138 batting average. And they left the Pirates 40, 4-0, averaging 10 a game, runners on base through the first 4 games of the season. Absolutely atrocious from the Bucs. Arguably one of the worst batters. I don't mean to single out one guy here. Jared Triolo, 2 for 17 to start the season, left 12 runners by himself on base. Really makes you want to call up Konnor Griffin immediately. More on Griffin coming up in some good news with him in the extra Pittsburgh sports news. But just a terrible night with the bats on Monday, and the rest of the Pirates lineup. They saw that sat Lau and O'Hearn doing all the heavy lifting, and they did the Michael Jordan meme. And I took that personally. Last night, this afternoon, the Pirates, gangbusters. All of a sudden, just totally out of the blue and random with the bats. They sit Jared Triolo. They put Jake Mangum out there. Nick York inserts himself into the lineup. O'Neal Cruz, who is struggling out of the gates this year, he got taken out of the leadoff spot and batted near the bottom of the order. But most importantly here, what the Pirates did, I'm going to stop screen sharing here for a second. They added one of those right there. New addition to the office. here today. The godsend savior of the Pittsburgh Pirates season looks like that right there. A simple yet now beautiful orange cone for the Penguins. Everybody remember that whole thing this offseason with Fanatics where they misprinted a shirt. It was supposed to say hoist the colors. Instead, it said hoist the cone. From a misprint to now a miracle for the Pittsburgh Pirates. The cone, this traffic cone that the Pirates now have in their dugout. I believe Jake Mangum, he's the one who brought it to the Bucs dugout. It is now turned into a power source for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And you see the Pirate Parrot right there holding the cone over his head. This cone has powers because the Pirates, last 2 games of the series against the Reds, just absolutely killing the ball when they are batting. Bubba Chandler pitched last night, 1-2-3 first inning for him, had 2 strikeouts over 100 miles an hour. And then the top of the second inning, that is when the cone's powers started to rub off on the Pirates' bats. Nick Gonzalez, he scores on a sacrifice fly from Nick York to make it 1-0. The Pirates had bases loaded with nobody out before that York sacrifice fly. Ryan O'Hearn steps back into the box again, already off to a hot start this season. Now somebody's going to need to grab a fire extinguisher and douse him out. A 3-run shot for Ryan O'Hearn, 401 feet to right center field. That made it 4-0 Pirates. Brian Reynolds, who has been just as god-awful as anybody else in the lineup to start the season, striking out a ton. He's now finding his groove. He hit a home run right after O'Hearn to make it back-to-back jacks and 5-0. Reynolds also 9th place on the all-time home runs list in Pirates history. Good stuff from him. The welder's mask getting its fair share of use. The cone being hoisted all around the Pirates dugout as they just had an offensive explosion in the second inning and did not look back. The Reds did, in the bottom of the third, scrape across a run against Bubba Chandler. And tell me if you've heard this story before. A outfield gaff from O'Neal Cruz. Ball was hit into the gap. Reynolds and Cruz both went for the catch. It ends up going off of the glove of Cruz. So the Reds made it 5-1. But Cruz did end up making up for that error. Not sure if they counted it an error on the stat sheet. But Cruz, no doubt, 444-foot moonshot against the Reds in the 5th inning. I want to say that made it 6-0 Pirates. Cruz now finding his power stroke as well, just like Brian Reynolds. Bubba Chandler ended up pitching a damn good game despite the walks. Again, walks still an issue. Chandler, his final stat line, went 4 1/3, was taken out after 81 pitches because it's still the beginning of the season. 1 run allowed, 6 strikeouts, but 6 walks. Got to reel that in. The Pirates bullpen, they took over again after Chandler's exit. Oh, Chandler, by the way, one more thing on him. Had one of the more athletic plays you will see from a pitcher this season. Little flare pop-up right to him, then threw it to second to double off the runner for the double play. Impressive stuff there. The Bucs bullpen, they went to work after Chandler's exit. Yohan Ramirez was able to work out of bases loaded danger, struck out Matt McLean and Ellie De La Cruz. And then the bullpen again, spent but didn't break. Donnie Kelly, in the bottom of the 8th inning, got ejected after arguing with the first base umpire. Eugenio Suarez for the Reds had maybe the most egregious check swing of all time that the umpires somehow missed. It was an absolutely terrible swing for Suarez that did not get called. Kelly gets tossed immediately after. Kelly gets rung up. Back-to-back home runs for Ellie De La Cruz and Sal Stewart to make it 6-3 Pirates. Reds getting back-to-back jacks. But Brandon Lau able to put out the fire again, makes a diving catch to get the Bucs out of the inning. Bullpen stays alive, keeps the Bucs with the lead again, and then Oneil Cruz one more time, really shutting all of us up in his errors out in the field because the bat has taken over for Cruz. Another 400 plus foot home run made it 8-3 in the top of the ninth. The Bucs end up hanging on to win 8-3 last night in Cincinnati for their first win of the series. 4 home runs in the game, 2 from Cruz, 1 from Reynolds and O'Hearn apiece. Cruz in the game, 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs. And boy, did that translate over from last night to today. Donnie Kelly, after the game last night, said he wants to make it clear that all year long he is going to fight for his players, and he wants his players to fight for their teammates. That fight brought once again onto the field at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati this afternoon. The Pirates did put out a pretty sketchy lineup, not going to lie there. Donnie Kelly, has he had as many funky change-ups to the lineup as Derek Shelton did? No, but was this a pretty rough lineup on paper to look at today? Yes. Jake Mangum left off. Nick Gonzalez batted second, followed by Brian Reynolds, Marcell Ozuna, Oneil Cruz batted fifth, and then the bottom 4 of the order, Nick York, Jared Triolo, Spencer Horwitz, and Henry Davis. Brandon Lau, Ryan O'Hearn, with the series on the line, a divisional series too, and a off day tomorrow. They sat out. Thought that was going to hurt the Bucs. Not the case. Bucs get 2 on with 2 outs in the top of the first. Oneil Cruz again. Just feel like we're going to be now saying a whole lot. Oneil Cruz slugs the ball out of the yard without much effort. 3rd home run in 18 hours for Oneil Cruz. Made it 3-0 Bucs right off the jump. Gave Paul Skeens a little bit of run support. Skeens pitched this afternoon. Skeens went a little bit into the ball game before the Reds scratched across their first run of the afternoon. Skeens, before allowing a run today to the Reds, went 30 consecutive innings without allowing the Reds to score. Impressive stuff from Paul Skeens. Skeens ended his day with, I think, 77 pitches. He was a little bit confused as to why he was being taken out of the ball game. I think Donnie Kelly still trying to save and preserve Skeens' arm, but Skeens could have gone back out there for another inning if he wanted. Got just enough to get credited with, or to be in line, I should say, with a win. 5 innings, 3 hits, only 1 run, struck out 5, walked 2. Good stuff from Skeens. The Pirates did make it a 4-1 lead. I believe a walk was, someone out of the Reds bullpen walked the man in to make it 4-1. And then Mason Montgomery came in to pitch for the Bucs, gave up a pinch hit 2-run homer to Eugenio Suarez, but that was all the threatening the Reds did for the rest of the game. Justin Lawrence out of the pen. He was very much nails out of the bullpen again. Struck out Ellie De La Cruz, Sal Stewart, and Nathaniel Lowe in the 8th. Nick Gonzalez, top of the 9th. Again, more magic from the Bucs. Gonzalez drives in some insurance runs with a 2-out double, or with a 2 RBI double. Brian Reynolds, Titanic 2-run shot to right field, 8-3. The final score again. Back-to-back, same scores. 2 different nights for the Pirates. 8-3, their first series win of the season, and now the Bucs 3-3, a 500 record, heading home for Friday's home opener against the Baltimore Orioles. The Pirates and the Bucs last night, in their last 2 games, I should say, combined, just dominating, impressive, makes you think the sky is the limit for these teams stuff. Hell yeah for the Bucs. They really needed that after that Mets series, and now they go home to take on the Baltimore Orioles. And I just saw a comment in the comments section, Flacco with an F, the Orioles. The Bucs with some momentum, they come home to a raucous and rowdy PNC Park on Friday at 4:12. We'll be live for that game. Did not get a chance to make the thumbnail for that live stream, or else I would be popping it up right now. But we'll be live for the Bucs home opener coming up on Friday. It'll be Kyle Bradish for the Orioles going against Mitch Keller, another home opener for Money Mitch. After that, the weekend series, Shane Boz, former Buccos prospect, takes on Carmen Majinski, and then Chris Bassett, the veteran in the Orioles rotation, will take on Braxton Ashcraft on Sunday. Bucs get their first series win. They blow out the Reds back-to-back nights by the score of 8-3, and now they come home, and quite honestly, the most exciting month ahead, arguably, in Pittsburgh sports history. You got the Penguins unexpectedly, most likely going to the playoffs. The Pirates, with high expectations, their home opener is coming up on Friday. And then the NFL draft is in the city of Pittsburgh. Might be the biggest month of sporting events in Pittsburgh sports history. Impressive stuff there from the city of Pittsburgh to somehow, in the sports teams, to somehow have that shake out the way it did. So excited for it all. Back here to the comments section, we now are going to get into some Pittsburgh Steelers talk here this evening. You guys have been waiting patiently. You're now going to get rewarded with some Steelers talk. Before we get into the latest with the black and gold, let's go back here to the comment section. Talk about what is going on here. Concepts here. How many picks will the Steelers actually make in 2026? Over, under 9. I'm not a betting man, so I might sound a little dumb here. Under means, just at 9. Under means, if they get to 9, I'm still, in the right here. I think they do make 9 exactly. I see a trade up at some point in this draft, because I think the Steelers and Art Rooney, they may not say this part out loud. They're going to want to make a splash in this draft. And I think the best way for them to make a splash is to, make a big trade up unexpectedly, go get a quarterback. Maybe they're in love with Ty Simpson and we don't know it, or go get a top of the line wide receiver, or maybe trade up in the first round, get Venga Yowani, who I'm absolutely in love with now as a Steelers first round pick. Would be quite interesting to see what the Steelers do. They got 12 picks. They're not going to make all 12. I think that's a guarantee. But 9, I do think they maybe package one of their thirds, maybe and 2 day 2 picks to move up at some point on day 1 or 2 of the draft. Be my prediction there. Jonathan Harvey here. As for the Steelers, I see them a team in a better place under the new coaches and leadership of Kahn and Weidl. The Steelers in good hands with Coach McCarthy. I feel the same way. I mean, I think we all got, just caught up in the moment a little bit back when the McCarthy hire was first made. Steelers had a chance to really go different and go the young, innovative route, kind of like what they've done with their hires, since Chuck Noll. Cower at the time was a young, innovative hire. Tomlin, the same thing, very young thing. Very young coach as well. Kind of, he was, of the Dan Muse. You want to tie it back to Penguins. Tomlin, he was like a Dan Muse type guy, dude who nobody really heard of or took seriously for the job. Thought the Steelers were going to do that, but then they went with McCarthy. We all were like, oh, great. Old coach, old idea on football, just, Mike, but a different last name. But now, offensive-minded head coach, dude who develops quarterbacks, is gonna, maybe let some of the coaches and coordinators, at least on the defensive side of the ball, do their job a little bit, not have his thumb and hand on everything that goes on for the Steelers. So I am excited to see that new stuff, to say the least. And Andy Weidl and Omar Khan, this is their first draft, I think, where they're the ones calling the shots. Tomlin is gone, and McCarthy, he's only been on the job here for a couple months. He might have some input on the draft, but Conn, Weidl, their scouting staff, this draft, it's going to be centered around their decisions. And when we look back on this draft coming up here in a few weeks, 2 to 3 years down the line, it'll be on them what goes down. Concepts here, hopeful. McCarthy, curious why he keeps skipping pro days. No hate at all, just being honest. McCarthy skipping pro days has some reason, might not be up to the traveling. McCarthy did talk about on Monday, I think we talked about it then as well, why he hasn't been to many pro days. He just said certain circumstances or situations have popped up where he hasn't been able to attend pro days. He said the Steelers top brass, meaning him and Omar Khan, were scheduled to attend 6 pro days in total, but they've only made the one, which was Georgia's pro day. That, just reiterates my statement there and my thesis that this draft, it's going to be strictly, a scouting department draft where you're just going to need to trust the guys that you hired and trust Andy Weidl, who's, the more player talent finder of the tandem between he and Omar Khan. So this draft is going to be them by a mile here. Looking at some other comments here. Flacco hopping in and F the Ratbirds and an F the Orioles too. There's a comment there from Concepts. Another quote here, or a comment here, FCSR Dad on Kyle Dubas. Indeed, Kyle Dubas not showing he is the problem, or as much of the problem as the Toronto media, which is just a hellhole in the hockey world, a bee's nest. Not showing he's the problem, really, is Kyle Dubas. Brad Treliving, I think his first name's Brad. He gets outed there in Toronto, and Dubas here with the Pens sitting high and mighty in a playoff spot, tons of draft picks, a prospect pool that is as loaded as it has been in the Crosby-Malkin era. Now it's Dubas looking like, I was the problem. I do this in my sleep, building this team back to relevancy. Looking here, some other things. More talks about the NFL officials. Don't no idea. Flacco here, who is Ioane. Ioane here, I actually am starting to, get more into detail. I think I've got a baseline, baseline information on most of the prospects in this draft class. Been working on the draft prospect guide that we'll talk about on here a ton come draft night in a few weeks here. I actually got the phonetic pronunciation of his name. Penn State left guard Olivavanga Ioane. Olivavanga Ioane. I think that's going to hopefully roll off the tongue easily by the time we reach draft night. Ioane, plug and play left guard for the next decade for the Steelers. I strongly feel that way about him. 6'4", 320 pounds, 33-inch arms, absolute road grader in the run game. Some of the strengths I have here for Ioane. Good luck. Probably the most put together O-lineman in the class. High character guy who turns into a stone cold killer on the field. Power head to toe. Just knocks dudes back off the line of scrimmage and he'll drive them through the turf straight to hell. What is it? The old Morgan Red Dead Redemption meme. I'm sending you straight to hell. That's how Vega Ioane plays with his blocking. Just excellent stuff there. I mean, as much as I would love to see a excellent, wide receiver get added to the group, I still love the top 3 wide receivers in this draft, Tyson, Lemon, and Tate. If I could still, add a franchise left guard for, a small trade up in the draft, I'm doing it if I'm the Steelers, because I mean, you still got Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf. I'd rather wait to the second round and get a wide receiver then to play behind those 2 guys than to let that franchise guard slip past you. So Olivavanga Ioane. See, still, catches your tongue a little bit pronouncing his name, but we're getting better. We're getting better at it. Last comment here from Concepts here. I think we trade back and make 15 picks to break the record of 14 by the Dolphins in 1997. Joking, of course. I mean, yeah, it was interesting by the Dolphins. Also, Steelers, not really a type of team to do that. Like, I could see a team like the Vegas Raiders. Well, I mean, not more or less the Vegas Raiders anymore, but maybe like the New Orleans Saints, a team that, unlike the Steelers, they're not trying to win every year, but they have no, future right now. A team that just takes multiple swings. The Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, as a matter of fact, you bring them up in that comment, they could be a team that would be quite happy making 15 picks in the draft because they are just tearing it all down to the studs. Tua's gone. They let Jalen Phillips walk. They traded Jalen Waddle away. They would be a team that would want to do something like that. Flacco here. We should move up twice. Ioane and Omar Cooper Jr. Ooh, now that would be nirvana for Steeler fans right there. If you were to get Ioane and one of those, top 5, top 7 wide receivers in the draft, I think, looking, I haven't organized my pre-draft rankings yet into, a solid order. Like, this is my top guy, but I think right now you look at this draft class, you got Tate, Lemon, Jordan Tyson, small gap. And then you got like 3, maybe 4 guys after him, after those 3, Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion, Omar Cooper. If I could get Ioane and one of those 3 receivers in my, top 6, in the, 4 through 6 of my top 6 wide receivers, I'd be happy with it. Ideally, I love Casey Concepcion as a guy who could maybe fall out of the first round and then the Steelers trade up, immediately day 2 to get him. But Cooper Jr. would be quite all right with that too. He is a baller for Indiana. All right, now that we are on to all of this Steelers talk, ladies and gentlemen, let's now quit beating around the bush here and dive right back in. The last top segment here of the day on the channel. Some Steelers talk around the NFL league meetings that are going on out in Arizona right now. There you get a picture of Mike McCarthy. McCarthy on Monday spoke with some media, and the Pat McAfee show revealed a little bit going on there. Said that he has been talking with Aaron Rodgers weekly, that he still likes Will Howard, that the Steelers are excited about the draft and all that, just typical McCarthy speak. He then officially, in a formal setting, spoke with the media at the NFL league meeting breakfast, which was yesterday. I believe that was the last day of the NFL meetings as well. McCarthy said a few more things that were interesting there. Of course, the top of anybody's list to talk about, McCarthy said he actually talked with Aaron Rodgers on Monday night. Told the media that A-Rod says hello to the fellow reporters and media folk that were there. I think, we can officially say world's worst kept secret now to the infinite degree. Rodgers, McCarthy, they just don't throughout, these past few weeks, just, call each other every now and again, tell them, how much they miss each other and reminisce about the good old days. I'm sure there's a little bit of that in those conversations, but if they're talking, weekly, every few days, something like that, McCarthy speaks to him on Monday at the league meetings, I'm sure McCarthy could have, found a better way to use his time at those league meetings other than calling Rodgers if he knew Rodgers wasn't going to come back. Rodgers is coming back at this point. I mean, let's just anything on Rodgers. We're still going to talk about it, but it'll just be, the same cyclical thing recycled over and over again. talking about Rodgers, and they're still talking here. We know he's going to come back. Adam Schefter, he was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. He said it sounds like Rodgers back in Pittsburgh is going to happen. We're just waiting for something official. Also, Schefter dropped on the McAfee show that it is not contractual issues that are delaying a Rodgers official decision to return to the Steelers. So maybe that Rodgers seeking $30 million this year rumor that was circulating sounds like that's, not as realistic as it, was initially perceived. I'm sure Rodgers still is looking for some sort of a pay raise, maybe around the 20 mark, but 30 just not going to happen. So Rodgers to the Steelers, everybody knows it's going to happen. It's just a matter of where and when he's going to sign the contract. It might be honestly around draft night, not just because Steelers owner Art Rooney II said he expects an answer by draft night, but because, leading up to the draft, Rodgers, as much as he's a guy that says, oh, when I retire, I'm going to fade off into the distance and you'll never hear from me again, he's a showman. He's a guy that loves the spotlight on him, Rodgers, even though he says the opposite. He's going to wait till draft night, maybe the morning of day one of the draft or the night before, and then the deal will become official, and it'll be a how can I make this about me scenario with Aaron Rodgers, which, I mean, hey, that's just the way Rodgers is wired. Other stuff from McCarthy, interesting things that he said. Lofty praise for Will Howard. All of us, we knew that, McCarthy has been saying in settings any chance he can get that he loves Will Howard, but whether it was, 100% real or not, we didn't really know. I think we can 100% say Mike McCarthy legitimately is a Will Howard fan right now. This quote right here from the breakfast yesterday at the NFL League meetings from McCarthy, quote, people get caught up on what round he went in, but if I was drafting players that year, he wouldn't be around in the 6th round. I just thought he jumped out of the TV set during the college football playoffs. He's a real prospect as a starting quarterback. He's got starting quarterback traits. That right there is as much praise a head coach can give to a player that he has not coached before, or a player that has not played before. There's a fine line between, just not saying anything bad about a player you're inheriting and saying, that you actually legitimately love a player. McCarthy, I mean, you can make a rom-com special about him and Will Howard in a football sense right now. It's crazy. Other stuff from McCarthy said that Caleb Johnson going to have a clean slate with the Steelers. Remember, just this time last year, I had Caleb Johnson as my 5th best running back in the draft, the 2025 draft, and he looked like he wasn't even in the 50 top running backs from last year's draft class, the way his season shook out. But McCarthy, his quote, I'm aware of his past experiences, but this is like a Catholic operation. You say 3 Hail Marys and everyone has a clean slate. So it sounds like Johnson might have some, more competition with Rico Dowdle, and maybe the Steelers add someone in the draft who knows. But Caleb Johnson going to get a clean start with Mike McCarthy. No doghouse for him. And the last 2 things here from Mike McCarthy, he said that he wants all players on his roster, except, of course, kicker and quarterback, to have the ability to play multiple positions. Wants very versatile players. He said you have guys, when you have guys that are position specific, they really don't do anything else. They have got to be an all-pro. So McCarthy going to be looking for his players to be jacks of all trades. If you're not a star player like a TJ Watt or a Cam Hayward, we'll see how that shakes out. The last thing, and maybe the most interesting thing McCarthy said yesterday, and this takes us into a different conversation here for a second. McCarthy, quote, I'm hopeful there will be a quarterback, at the right time there for us to possibly add to our roster in the draft. McCarthy bringing up, once again, draft eligible quarterbacks. And specifically, he gave a profile or a type of quarterback he wants. McCarthy mentioned having Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre in his coaching career and called them long-armed quarterbacks with 10-inch hands or bigger that could sling it in the cold. And now you got the Steelers doing top 30 visits. McCarthy says that he wants a long-armed 10-inch hand plus quarterback. And the Steelers, they've already had two, about to make it three quarterbacks that fit that bill in for top 30 visits. We thought, maybe they were just bringing in quarterbacks for the tiny bit of smoke and mirror effect. But now, whatever quarterbacks the Steelers are bringing in for the draft, are bringing in for visits before the draft, and maybe some of the quarterbacks they spoke with down in, or I should say, at the NFL scouting combine, we got to take it legitly, even more than we did before. Carson Beck, Steelers had him for a pre-draft visit a couple weeks ago. He is, I think, 6'4", something like that, 233 pounds, 10-inch hands on him. Cole Payton, a lefty, probably a day 3 pick here, a lefty quarterback from North Dakota State. He's got 10.25-inch hands, 232 pounds. And then maybe the guy that fits the bill the best of what McCarthy described out of anybody in this year's draft class. The Steelers haven't had him in Pittsburgh yet, but they are going to bring him in eventually for a top 30 visit. Arkansas quarterback, Taylen Green. And you are talking about one of the most athletically gifted quarterbacks in this draft class. It is far and away Taylen Green as the number one guy. I actually finished my prospect evaluation on Taylen Green today. Green, 23 years old, 6'6", 227 pounds. He's got 35-inch tree branches for arms, and he's got 10-inch hands. All of that right there, his measurements, screams athletic quarterback that has a very, very high ceiling. His combine performance sure as hell backed that up. Set a QB combine record in the vertical and broad jump. Problem is, with Taylen Green, we just got to teach him how to play quarterback a little bit. 60.1 completion percentage in his college career. Not all that great. 35 interceptions in his collegiate career. That is very staggering. But hey, he can toss the ball, chuck the ball a country mile. And also, he is the most put together dual threat quarterback in the draft class. Dude can run the ball like crazy. One of his pro comparisons. Tell me if somebody would like another player like this on their team. One of his body comparisons, he's being compared to DK Metcalf from a body standpoint. I know that's a wide receiver and Green's a quarterback, but I would certainly take a DK Metcalf monster freak athlete back on the squad. Dude's big as hell, can run fast as hell, and can chuck the ball into the sun. Would certainly love that. I mean, there's a ton of, spots to work on him, to work with Taylen Green, but he's got, some traits. God knows he's physically gifted. Steelers, a quarterback developer now they have in Mike McCarthy. Taylen Green, watch out for him as a late day 2, early day 3 pick for quarterback with the Steelers. Then your quarterback room, I'd actually be okay with it. You're looking at Aaron Rodgers, obviously, as your starter. I think if you draft a quarterback, you cut Mason Rudolph. Love Mason Rudolph to death. I think we all do, but thank you for what you did. Time for us to move on here. You'll have Will Howard as the backup, and then you'll have a toolsy, uber-athletic quarterback to develop behind Howard and Rodgers. I would assume Howard gets the first shot over the over this year's rookie. Be a pretty decent quarterback room. Very intriguing for the Steelers. I would love that quite a bit. So we'll see where things go here. Taylor Green on the Steelers' radar. I love that. He is shooting up quarterback rankings, not just in my personal rankings, but all around the league. Another top 30 visit has also been scheduled for the Steelers, by the way. Speaking of big guys, Steelers, they're going to add a tackle in this draft class, and this dude is going to be gargantuan, whoever it is. Earlier, about a month or so ago, maybe not a month or so ago, maybe about 3 weeks or so, Steelers, their very first pre-draft visit was a 6'9" left tackle, Markel Bell from Miami. Now they're going to bring in on a scheduled top 30 visit another 6'9" massive left tackle, 325 pounds, Travis Burke from Memphis. Burke, 3 sacks allowed across 480 some pass blocking snaps in 2025. Top run blockers in the draft. Big man. Maybe not, a plug and play starter, but a monstrous left tackle Steelers are looking to add to pair with their monstrous quarterback that they're probably going to draft. Big and athletic. Looks like that is going to be the common theme across all the Steelers draft picks this year. Wrapping up some Steelers talk here, before there's, some more stuff in the extra Pittsburgh sports news. We did hear from Omar Khan a little bit at the NFL meetings. Did provide a positive update on Broderick Jones. He said that Jones is starting to do more and more as the weeks go on. He's talked to Jones over the past couple of weeks, and Jones is in a good place, ready to work hard and do whatever he can to be ready to go. We've talked about it before. Very, very scary neck injuries like the one Broderick Jones suffered in, week 11 last year, but that was positive stuff there from Omar Khan. I'm hoping he's not, just using that as, maybe a smokescreen thing for the draft, saying, oh yeah, Jones is coming back here soon, trying to maybe shield some teams away from taking a tackle they love. But Jones, assuming that that is the truth and nothing but the truth from Omar Khan, glad to see that he is doing well. Again, I think here on the channel, I'm the biggest Broderick Jones defender of them all. I thought his arrow was trending up before he got hurt last year. Excited to see if he can keep that arrow pointed up. And we also heard from Steelers owner Art Rooney II. He had a couple interesting things to say at the meetings. Said that the new field at Acrisure Stadium, because all field services across the NFL now must meet certain requirements. Rooney said that the field in Pittsburgh will be the same field that they use at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. So the Eagles, they received a grade on the NFLPA report card for their field conditions or their field surface. The Steelers looking to maybe improve their field grade from it being catastrophically bad last year. Rooney also said that the field, its actual name here, Tahoma 31 Bermuda grass. So that sounds pretty cool name right there. Rooney also said doesn't anticipate any changes to the Rooney rules at these NFL league meetings. Rules and such are reviewed. Some are added, some are taken away. The Rooney rule going to be untouched. And the last thing, said it a moment ago, say it again. Rooney, his exact quote, I expect a decision. Well, I'm adding in this little part. I expect a decision for Rodgers would be, quote, by the draft. I expect an answer. So Rooney, maybe he's actually going to put his foot down for once on something. That'd be a real shocker. The draft is coming up again, of course, now a few weeks away. We're into draft month. The other things going on here at the owner meeting, we'll get into here in a few moments. All right, gonna be wrapping up the show with extra Pittsburgh sports news here in a matter of moments. want to, for a moment, switch things over to the Twitter timeline, see if there's anything new and interesting that has occurred since we have gone live here this evening. This is interesting here. Could be something, could be nothing. Patrick Queen has changed agencies. What agency is this exactly? We saw former Steeler receiver now, Calvin Austin. He switched agencies right before free agency and he left town. Now Patrick Queen is switching agencies as well. Been linked to trade rumors all offseason long as Queen, but unlikely he gets moved because the Steelers just last week or something paid a roster bonus to him of like $2.5 million. Be really uncharacteristic of the Steelers to trade him now. We'll have to wait and see. There's a king ransom offered for Queen out of the blue, like getting closer to the draft. I'll take that then, but interesting. He switches agencies. This a mock draft here from NFL Underdog NFL. They have the Steelers at pick 21 taking left tackle, another massive human being, maybe not as tall as the guys the Steelers are bringing in for pre-draft visits, but a dude who weighs nearly 400 pounds, Caden Proctor, left tackle from Alabama. That could be a potential first-round choice. Wouldn't be my first. Certain chips would have to fall the right way for me to say, hey, take Proctor, but that is interesting, Proctor being mocked to the Steelers. I think most mock drafters, honestly, aside from people who actually, follow the Steelers on a daily basis, every year it feels like you'll see just, every now and again a random mock draft. Oh, Steelers are taking a left tackle. Like they haven't mocked a left tackle to us for the past, 3 or 4 years. Like at some point, you are allowed to have the Steelers draft someone other than a offensive lineman or an offensive tackle in the first round. And I say that knowing well and aware that I want Venga Ioane in the worst way possible. Sort of a double-edged sword right there. Back here to the comment section. You guys leaving more and more concepts here. People crying about holding hostage is hilarious and exhausting. Holding the team hostage. Yeah, the Aaron Rodgers thing. I don't think he's holding the team hostage. The team is, they willingly know Rodgers is going to be back, and Rodgers knows he's going to be back as well. Don't think anybody's really holding anybody hostage anymore. At least, from a commitment standpoint, contract, that's another thing here. I'm exhausted. I'm not exhausted of the Aaron Rodgers thing. We had to expect it. I did. I'm not happy, but it just is what it is. I think it's pretty much where we are right now. I mean, I'm intrigued more. I'm actually starting to be intrigued a little bit more by the idea of what Rodgers looks like reunited with McCarthy's system than what Rodgers looked like coming here last year for the first time. Rodgers in a familiar offense. He's already, on paper before we even reached the draft, got a better cast of characters around him with Pittman and Dowdle. Jonnu Smith no longer on the team. MVS, even though he's Rodgers' boy, off the team as well. Do think A-Rod, with a system he was in for, 3/4 of his NFL career, with a elite cast of characters, at least playmaker-wise around him, that does intrigue me a good bit. And then you'll have, if Rodgers, fails or gets hurt, you'll have Will Howard and an exciting young quarterback in this draft to turn to. So I guess there is, more bright side to the situation than what you initially think. In McCarthy's statement about size and strength, eliminate any chance of Ty Simpson being drafted. Here, even if he falls, he seems like the opposite of what McCarthy wants. Yeah, the exact opposite. I thought the same exact thing. Steelers, they met with Simpson formally at the Combine, and I think that was the last thing that they truly were looking at him for. Maybe it was just a due diligence thing, but Steelers met with Ty Simpson at the Combine. Since then, nothing. They, I think, only sent down Alabama's pro day like Ike Taylor to look at the DBs. No look whatsoever at Simpson. So I would think that eliminates him from the conversation. Tim Simpson, to go with the traits because he's only like 6'1" at most and doesn't have all that, massive arms or hands or anything like that. So Simpson, I would think, got eliminated. If not, it would be the most random. We got everybody and their mother to look one way, and we went the other draft pick in Steelers history, really, or at least in recent history here. Flacco, there's another comment there, Flacco. I do see you. I do see your comment right here. We are going to get to that here in a moment in the extra Pittsburgh sports news. That did not slip past my radar. Always trust the process. I'm with you, says Flacco. It's all the Steelers are going to do, both fans and them in the building. Trust the process of the scouting staff here because you don't have the overlord head coach making the pick anymore. Maybe because the draft is in Pittsburgh, you have a pick or two influenced by the owner, but head coach, now all of a sudden not the main decision maker in the draft room. There's no super power struggle between GM and head coach. It's all on the GM and the coaching staff now. BPA, always the target, in my opinion. Concept's always been a believer in that. Anthony Richardson comes to mind, but late day 3 is where Richardson should have gone. So why not? Talking about Taylor Green, yeah, there definitely is that very much big boom or craterous bust with Taylor Green. But hey, we're not spending the 4th overall pick on him like the Colts did with Anthony Richardson here. If you can find Taylor Green for one of your 3 third-round picks right now, or your first pick on day 3, I take that. I take that for Green in a heartbeat here. Looking here, some other things. Talking about Justin Fields. Shoot, I wanted Justin Fields again. I think the Justin Fields thing has sailed. He is going to be a good backup for a while, though. I do believe that, but definitely not a starter. Maybe AB's agency is what Patrick Queen changed to, and maybe that is the agency he did, trying to get out of Pittsburgh by joining that agency. Last comment here for the moment. We'll come back to the comment section one more time before we log off. Please, 8, 9, think I've seen as much as 10 or 11 of you in here tonight. Please hit that like and subscribe button on your way in. I appreciate the kind words, Flacco, calling this the best channel for all your Pittsburgh sports news and talk. Appreciate that very, very much. Gonna wrap up the show now, ladies and gentlemen, with the extra Pittsburgh sports news from the past 2-3 days here on this April Fool's Day. Did not get trapped too much by April Fools, other than when I first woke up this morning. First thing I saw on Twitter was someone faking an MLB Insider account posts something about Paul Skeens needing elbow surgery and being out the rest of the year. And then it took me like 30 seconds to realize it's April Fool's. I went from about to let out a endless barrage of profanities to being like, oh, it's this BS day. Didn't get caught by too many April Fool's things here today. Now on to the extra Pittsburgh sports news. Going to keep going here with the football and talks about the NFL draft and the NFL league meetings. At the league meetings, a couple of rules were put into effect. The NFL owners officially approved for permanent use the Steelers' proposal of having teams get one call with up to 5 unrestricted free agents during the legal tampering period. The Steelers saying, hey, before these guys make life-altering decisions here and, make a commitment to make family tree changing money. Let's, make sure we can get a call out to these guys here, a video call uh, maybe try to win them over here. So I think that was, an easy thing. Actually shocked it wasn't implemented in the NFL sooner than what it will be now. But Steelers, they get a win there. Also, the NFL passing the DK Metcalf rule. This is per Tom Pelissero. The league will now be able to consult with on-field officials regarding a potential ejection of a player, even if a flag was not thrown. And they call that the DK Metcalf rule because thankfully this thing has been, put out of everybody's thoughts for a while now. Metcalf, that whole Detroit fan incident, Metcalf stayed and played the rest of that game after that altercation, as did the fan. But now players can be thrown out without a flag being thrown. So Metcalf, if he pulls that again, really, banking on that he doesn't. At least he shouldn't. Metcalf could be ejected if something like that happens again. And the last thing here, you guys were bringing up the officials, NFL officials. Apparently there's some sort of holdout going on right now with NFL officiating. They're looking for more money. And also, I think I heard something where the officials don't want something in particular. And it's kind of crazy that they don't want it. Damn, I forget what it is. But anyway, NFL officials, they in the NFL itself, they're having some sort of big powwow right now and issue. And the NFL owners, they approved a competition committee proposal for 1 year only, allowing NFL officiating departments to correct clear and obvious misses made by on-field officials that impact the game in the event that replacement referees are used for the 2026 season. So if the main NFL officials do not take place or do not participate in this upcoming NFL season, they will have replacement referees, and the NFL officiating department will be able to buzz down and correct clearly missed calls because there are backup referees in there. We'll see if anything gets sorted out between the NFL and the refs. The last few things here from the NFL league meeting, some trade rumors have been buzzing. This one directly affects the Steelers, and one that could directly affect the Steelers, though it's highly unlikely. Andrew Berry, Cleveland Browns GM, said that Myles Garrett not going to be traded despite all the speculation. He said Myles is a career Brown. Todd Monken, the new Browns head coach, echoed the same thing. Kind of funny how Andrew Berry says Myles is a career Brown when even Myles at one point did not want to be a career Brown. All that whole trade, I love it here in Cleveland, but I am formally requesting a trade. That was, just such funny and good times. Browns still a laughing comedy no matter what they do. We at least have that as Steelers fans. The Browns always going to be the klutzy little brother. The Browns also, they have a trade proposal, I think, that got shot down. The whole, instead of 3 years, now being able to trade draft picks up to 5 years in advance, that did not make it through. So the Browns, swing and a miss. Kind of normal for them. Back into a tiny bit of draft talk here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The draft stage, now 3 days, it has been under construction at Acrisure Stadium. The draft stage looks like it's going to be right out in front of the Steelers Pro Shop and the Great Hall. And the draft stage going to be angled just a little bit to where you'll be able to see the crowd. Obviously, Acrisure Stadium will be behind them as the backdrop, but the city skyline and Point Park and the rivers, they will be right here just off to the right a tiny bit. So that is going to be cool to see how the draft stage comes along and if it has any sort of unique design given the location this year. Also, the Acrisure Stadium seating replacement project. It is moving along, and I think the yellow seats, at least in the upper bowl, they are going to stay, but this is really odd. At random, there's just scattershot. Black seats are now mixed in with the yellow. There's no sort of pattern or rhyme or reason. Just at random, black seats are now going to be mixed in with the yellow seats. I have no idea why Acrisure Stadium is doing that. I mean, yeah, it'll be nice to have new and improved seats, but just to have random black seats all of a sudden, I guess let's show that the seats aren't as empty as they might see sometimes on TV. Speaking of the draft, Steelers could be interested in a few positions and drafting at these positions high in the draft that we might not have thought of before. Per Jerry Dulac, we know he's tied at the hip with Steelers owner Art Rooney II. He said the Steelers are interested, and maybe even strongly so, in taking first-round tight end Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon. Sadiq, one of the best tight end prospects to come out of the draft in a little while. He's definitely by far the best tight end prospect in this draft is Sadiq. Ran the fastest combine 40 ever by a tight end, did Sadiq. So, I mean, the Steelers, if they go first round tight end again, in the moment, might be a little bit, too much to think about. But, I mean, at the same time, you got Muth, you got Darnell Washington, Jonnu Smith is gone, so you do have a hole for a third tight end. And also Sadiq, the way he's built for how fast he is running, he does kind of profile as like a big wide receiver, like a Pittman or a Metcalf. So getting him, run him out of the slot a little bit wouldn't be, it's not like you're going to draft him first round and he's going to sit on the bench is what I'm saying out there. There definitely will be a spot for him in the offense if they take him, but I highly doubt the Steelers do realistically follow through taking a first-round tight end. Also, Jerry Dulac, he was the one last year who said the Steelers had a first-round grade on Shadur Sanders, so take what he says with a grain of salt. The other position the Steelers could maybe unexpectedly look to draft high later on this month, corner. Steelers, again, sending Ike Taylor on a mission to get a good look at top of the draft corners. They had Taylor at Georgia's Pro Day. They had Taylor at Alabama's Pro Day. And I think at Miami's Pro Day. Now Ike Taylor, former Steeler player and scout, was at Tennessee's Pro Day today. And he was running the workout drills for Colton Hood and Jermod McCoy, both elite Tennessee corners who could be going in the first round, both of them, come April. McCoy, I think he's a slam dunk first rounder. Colton Hood, he's maybe hovering around the back end of the first round right there. But Ike Taylor, watching Hood and McCoy, also director of college scouting Dan Colbert, and DB's coach Jason Simmons. They were there at Tennessee today. So you had pretty much the guys who are most, I guess I should say, influential in taking a defensive back. They were there at Tennessee's Pro Day today, watching those two good corners. Speaking of defensive backs, last two things here. Former Steelers safety Chuck Clark, he has officially found a new home, signing a one-year deal with the Detroit Lions. And former Steelers wide receiver Lance McCutcheon, who retired earlier this offseason, he is now coming out of retirement, signing a one-year deal with the Tennessee Titans. Hopefully things work out for those two gentlemen and they are able to continue their NFL careers. Moving over back into baseball, some new things coming to PNC Park, where the Pirates will play on Friday for the home opener. PNC Park going under some renovations and having some new things for this upcoming season. First off, this was a big story, just because the team sucked and fans were grabbing on to anything they could have bitched about this time last year. The Bucco Bricks. Remember, got ripped out of the sidewalk, taken to some sort of landfill where they got, shredded to pieces. The replacement for the Bucco bricks now up at PNC Park. Outside the stadium on the exterior walls, you have these bronze plaques with the years dated and all the messages from the Bucco bricks on them. So that is officially up and ready for fans to see. Some also things that are new at PNC Park. I think the clubhouse got renovated a little bit for the Bucs. There's new food items available to fans. The batter's eye out in center field got a new anti-glare coating put on it, so that should help the batters. And also a new hype video was debuted for the Bucs that made the rounds on social media. So new commodities and amenities at PNC Park. That's nice to see. The Bucs putting more effort into the stadium this year, just like they put into the actual team roster. Speaking of the roster, please, from my mouth to the baseball god's ears, please let Konnor Griffin be on this Pirates baseball team soon. Not just because, it's been a rough go with Jared Triolo at shortstop and Nick Gonzalez off to a good start to the year. Good. Am I going to count on it to hold up? No. Same thing with Nick York. Griffin could be coming up soon. And I'll tell you why. Buster Olney, ESPN MLB Insider, a report today that the Pirates are, quote, deep into negotiations on a possible extension for Konnor Griffin. And right now, sounds like the money, what Griffin wants, what the Pirates want, coming a tad bit closer, and we could reach a deal here soon. The excerpt from Olney's report here, the Pirates and Konnor Griffin, top prospect, are deep into negotiations. The two sides made their respective cases over what an appropriate deal would be for the 19-year-old shortstop. The Pirates' proposals are closer in the range to 8 years at $111 million. That would mirror the Corbin Carroll deal signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2023. Griffin's camp, however, they are looking for something closer to Roman Anthony of the Boston Red Sox 8-year deal, which was at $130 million. At this point, I side with Griffin, obviously. $130 million to get a Mike Trout level prospect at shortstop who's getting comps to Bobby Witt and I think Jose Rodriguez as well. Damn right, I'm giving him $130 million. I don't know why this is such a haggling point right now. But then again, this is the Pirates, and every penny counts here that goes into Bob Nutting's pockets. So just glad to see that there's a report out that a deal is coming close. They're at least within $20 million of each other's price ranges. May seem like a lot, but I'm sure they could maybe meet in the middle at some point and get this thing across the goal line. I did become a little bit skeptical that a Griffin extension would come because just in the past few days, 2 other prospect shortstops got contract extensions. Cooper Pratt with the Milwaukee Brewers has yet to play in the MLB. He signed an 8-year, $50.75 million contract. And then Seattle Mariners prospect shortstop Cole Emerson. He signed an 8-year, $95 million extension. I think Emerson was in the top 3 of contracts to be signed by a prospect that has not made his MLB debut yet. Griffin will beat that out, but I was wondering if the Pirates were maybe going to see those get done, or if Griffin was going to see those offers get done and say, hey, I am light years better than all of these guys, so I should get paid double what they are getting. But maybe they're getting closer after all. Last thing on the Pirates-Mets. Their opening day game back on Thursday. Tons of eyes on it. Averaged 2.3 million viewers, I should say, across NBC and Peacock. That is the most watched opening day afternoon game on record. Great to see the Pirates get some exposure like that. And the last thing here on the Pittsburgh Penguins for today, the last thing regarding them, Erik Karlsson, did not mention him, I think, at all during the recaps of the games from the past 2 nights. Karlsson, definitely not going to forget the month of March he had. Karlsson today being named the NHL's second star for the month of March. Have no idea how he wasn't the first. I know Nikita Kucherov is playing lights out right now, but EK65, man, looking like prime Ottawa Senators Erik Karlsson. I thought he would be a slam dunk first star of the month. Karlsson, I think he ended the month with like 23 points in 17 games, something like that, really controlling the game as a defenseman, stuff we haven't seen from him in years. So congratulations to EK65, the most multi-point games at 9 in March by a Penguins defenseman in team history. A single month multi-point game record for the Penguins made by Erik Karlsson. Hell yeah, EK65. Keep it up in March, or keep it up in April and hopefully May. May meaning a deep playoff run for the Buccos, or for the Pirates. Or, oh my God, for the Penguins here. Seeing so many Pirate things here right now. Wrapping up the Pens news, Kyle Dubas mentioned the Maple Leafs GM getting axed. There's the Dubas meme with him in front of the Maple Leafs tombstone giving the peace sign. Just hilarious how the Leafs have been hitting themselves in the face with the rake like a cartoon character, and Dubas is here looking like a genius at GM. The Pens now down in Tampa Bay. They're just a look ahead at their schedule. Tampa Bay Lightning, they take them on tomorrow night at 7. And then a weekend series, both games at home, 2 days in a row. The Pens will take on the Florida Panthers at PPG Paints Arena. And the Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions, they're packing it in for the season. I don't want to, act like it's going to be an easy slam dunk 4 points for the Pens here. But the Panthers, nobody is going to be playing for them except for maybe Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Reinhart, Brad Marchand, Alexander Barkov, Anton Lundell, Nico Mikkola, Evan Rodriguez, Jonah Gadjevich, and Uvis Balinskis, all unlikely to play again this season, per their head coach, Paul Maurice. So you're down 2 of your top 4 wingers, your top 2 centers, one of your shutdown defensemen, another pretty damn good depth forward, a 4th line forward, and one of your better offensive defensemen. Yikes, down there in Pantherland. The Penguins are going to be playing this weekend. Maybe Aaron Ekblad, Matthew Tkachuk, and Sergei Bobrovsky, and then the AHL affiliate of the Panthers. Last thing on the Penguins, good stuff. Mario Lemieux holding his fantasy hockey camp yesterday is officially in the books. They raised over $5 million, did the Lemieux Foundation for cancer research. That was always awesome to see. I'm glad to see that Lemieux still doing awesome stuff like that with his foundation and being a cancer survivor himself. All right. I think that just about does it for today, ladies and gentlemen. On stream for nearly 2 hours here tonight. I knew it was going to be a big live stream. Was not expecting it to be this big, but we got through it, and we got through it still smiling like a butcher's dog, to quote the great Mike Lang. That's going to do it here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for joining me. Last few comments here. Back to the Kenyon Sadiq thing. Feels like a lot of teams need a tight end. Yeah, I'd be shocked if Sadiq falls to the Steelers at 21. You got the Chiefs, who I think are a prime team to take them in front of the Steelers. I think the Dolphins, they could use a offensive weapon, and a damn good one now that Jalen Waddle's gone. Ravens, they could take a tight end because they got Mark Andrews and nobody anymore. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Detroit Lions, to have a guy behind Sam Laporta, any of those teams could take Sadiq. So I'd be shocked if he makes it to the Steelers come draft night. Also, thing here from, who was it? Concepts here. Glad you mentioned the DK rule. Actually, it should be the Jamar Chase rule. That rule would have ejected Chase for spitting and lying and maybe allowed Ramsey to not get scammed. True that. Their concepts. Ramsey's the one who ends up getting it. Didn't he get ejected for that? Dude gets spit on and he gets tossed. Meanwhile, Chase, Mr. Hawk Tua, gets to stay in there. Yeah, call it the Jamar Chase / DK Metcalf rule. At least put that little caveat in there. All right. I think that is going to do it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you all for joining me. This was fun. Pens looking damn good. Pirates now all of a sudden being hot with the bats. The Steelers, a few weeks away from the NFL draft. More and more talk about that. It's only going to ramp up between now and draft night. So exciting times ahead here, hopefully in a big month of March here on the Steel City Sports Report. That'll wrap things up here tonight. Do want to make a public announcement. There will not be at least a planned news live stream like this until Monday. Tomorrow night, live stream will be off. Got some things going on. And then Friday, we will be live at roughly the same time we're live right now. 4:12 is first pitch in the Pirates home opener against the Baltimore Orioles. So we'll be live for the Bucs game, but we won't be live for a news stream. Maybe, during some commercial breaks or something. During the Pirates game, we, pop up the extra Pittsburgh news banner right there, and we talk about anything that goes on, the Penguins game tomorrow night, any Steelers news, stuff like that. But there won't be an official news live stream like this until Monday. So want to put that out there. Off tomorrow, back for Pirate Baseball, the home opener on Friday, and then on Monday, assuming that there isn't any, major breaking news live stream somewhere in between these things, Monday will be our back to normal news live stream like this. And maybe Monday or Tuesday next week, it'll be mock draft season here on the Steel City Sports Report. Maybe we fire up an old mock draft simulator and walk through together, all of us, what we want the Steelers to do in the draft coming up here in a few weeks. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your Wednesday night. On your way out, subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so that you never miss a thing here on the Steel City Sports Report. Again, like, share, leave a comment in the comments section, your thoughts after the fact, and go give the channel a follow at Steel City SR, Facebook, Instagram, and X. Tune back in later tonight, SCSR60, and we'll meet you back here like this on Monday. But before that, the Pirates home opener coming up on Friday. Have a good rest of your Wednesday night. See ya when we see you next. Peace.